All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live today for another edition of the NASCAR Busch National Series for the NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup video game. Season mode playthrough. It's race number 14 of 34 on the season. It's the MBNA America 200. We're doing a doubleheader today. In order to do that, we need to run this Busch Series earlier in the afternoon. I'm off of work, so I figured why not? We could do it. I know a lot of you guys probably can't watch this live with it being middle of the week in the afternoon, but at least the bright side of things, you can always go back and watch it on your free time. And I think it works out pretty good knowing that I'm likely not going to be here this weekend to stream at least for Saturday purposes because I'll be at Indianapolis for the NASCAR race. So there's also that to kind of put into perspective as well. But welcome to the few of you that are already in here in the chat for the early going of this one. Cars One Boy, Trevor Grimes, R6R6, welcome to the stream. And hopefully we see a few others throughout the course of this race. It'll be 200 laps and 200 miles around the Dover International Raceway. Kevin Harvick will be starting on the pole. Looked pretty fast in first practice. Had to tighten it up just a hair for qualifying, and then a little bit more after qualifying into happy hour. Happy hour, car feels pretty good. So let's go on into the race here today. Harvick on the pole, green flag in the air. We're underway at Dover. Good launch by the 21 of Harvick to beat the field into turn one. Easily clear off turn two. The 117 gets into the wall off the exit of turn two. Not a great start for him. That stacked the field up further back. Harvick's in danger of losing the lead on lap one. A lot of pressure underneath on his left rear off the exit of turn four from the 109. Harvick's got to take the outside now into turns one and two, and the 109 car still underneath and looking to make the pass. So is Bobby Hamilton Jr. It looked like there might have been another stack up into turn three. At the end of lap one as well, contact as Harvick pinches off the 109 of Lance Brantley. Harvick side drafting Brantley back. Now he makes a mistake into turn one. And Hamilton slides up the racetrack now. Harvick was coming down at the same time, and Harvick's back to third place trying to protect on Kyle Busch. And Brantley will lead lap three. Hamilton back to fourth. Harvick crosses him back over. Kyle Busch will get around him for position as well. Harvick now underneath Brantley for the race lead in turns one and two, and he gets it back. Just needs to find some rhythm. These guys are putting a lot of pressure on Harvick early on. And a very difficult racetrack to navigate. It might look easy with how symmetrical this racetrack might appear, but Dover, one of the trickiest tracks on the circuit. A fast 1 mile oval on concrete, so the tire wear is going to be a little bit more on this concrete surface versus what you would see on typical asphalt surfaces. Welcome back, R6. Harvick a little sideways off turn four. Kyle Busch got to second, passing Brantley, and Brantley's actually back to fourth. Bobby Hamilton Jr. has gotten around him, but after starting third in the 117, who qualified second, getting into the wall off turn two, stacking up a lot of the field and made it a four-car breakaway from lap two now to lap seven once Harvick comes off of the fourth turn to make it back to the start-finish line once again. I do want to state, though, I am sorry I didn't stream last night. I got home a lot later than what I thought I would. I was planning on getting home between, really, at the latest, 8:30, 9 o'clock. By the time I got home, I got the stream put together and everything. It was just past 9:30, so if we were going to run this Busch Series race last night, it would have been a pretty late night again. So I figured just run the doubleheader today. No big deal. Take my birthday off, I guess, and then we'll end up streaming it today. So that's what we're doing. That's why we've got this race, and then the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode will continue today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time later this evening at the Texas Motor Speedway. It'll be the second race of the round of 8. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, going back to school tomorrow already? That seems pretty early. I remember when I was in school, I think we went back usually either the first week of August, or sorry, not the first week, the last week of August or the first week of September. like right after Labor Day weekend. It kind of changed because our county fair, the county I live in Northwest Ohio, is like one of the last ones in Ohio, and it's usually the weekend before Labor Day. So that's why we wouldn't go back until the last weekend of August, because that would be or after the last weekend of August, because that would be the weekend of the fair going on. And then sometimes we wouldn't go back till after Labor Day because we'd have people participating in the fair and they'd have to clean up, and they'd usually miss like the first 2 to 3 days of school anyway. And so, yeah, all that hoopla, I guess, like kind of factored into it as well. Especially with us being in a smaller town, smaller school. Like my graduating class was only 70 kids. I think my sister's graduating class this year was like 50. So that goes to show like how small of a school we actually grew up in, how small of a town and everything. So county fair definitely played a big factor in that. Tyler Burback, welcome to the stream. See the trailer for the new NASCAR game? I did, and I got like 5 minutes into Radman's video on like the details of it, so I don't really know many like game mode details. I'll have to finish watching that today. It was like right when I got home, I saw everything about it. A buddy of mine texted me, and I haven't even gotten back with him yet on it because I don't really know the details on it yet. So, but he said it looks pretty good. From the 5 minutes I've seen, it looks okay, but we still haven't actually seen the gameplay of it yet. I know we saw like cars on the track, but that's not the actual like gameplay. But those are just like replays. So the graphics look awesome in it, though. Definitely looks like a real racing game. They got the looks down. They get the gameplay down, and once I see all the game mode features and stuff, all right, we can go off of that. Ash and G, welcome to the stream. I'm excited for it. The only thing I'm not excited for, the release date is October 28th. Literally, there's only going to be 2 races left on the NASCAR schedule when this year's NASCAR game comes out. Which almost kind of makes you wonder if next year will be an early release, or they'll like have like not a patch, but kind of what NASCAR Heat did for Heat 3 and Heat 4, where you have the opportunity to like purchase next year's like an extra 10, $20 or whatever it ends up being to have next year's like driver lineup. Means there's only literally going to be 2 races left of the season when we get this year's game. A little later than I think a lot of people wanted. Definitely later than what I wanted. I was shooting for like early to mid-September. Was probably the latest I would have liked it, but hey, at least we're getting it. At least we're getting it. And not only that, like I said, it looks to be a good game. Hopefully it does pan out. Excited to race Dirt Bristol Dakota. Yeah. A lot of so we're going to run the custom schedule season first. It's going to be the first thing I'm going to do with that game. And for all 3 series, assuming they have trucks and Xfinity, I don't know if they do or not, if they came out with a statement, but if they have like all 3 of those series, we're going to run a custom schedule, and we're going to have some fun racing at a lot of those newer tracks early in the season. Nashville's going to be on there too. Don't forget, Nashville will be on there. Indy Road Course will be back. Hopefully not glitchy like it is in this year's game. So Kevin Harvick's led all but 1 lap so far. We're 20 laps in, still caution free. And the only other driver to lead a lap was the 109 fantasy driver of Lance Brantley. Not sure what the fuel window is going to look like today. This is our first trip to Dover early in the season, or at least the first half of the season. We're midway through it now. Harvick definitely got put under a lot of pressure. Does not have a good short run car. At least for those first 5 laps, he was struggling quite a bit. Just trying to hang on. The less cautions, the better, I guess, for Harvick for that sake. Yeah, the Indy Road Course is just not even playable in that game. I mean, we tried it a couple times. Somebody's blown an engine on the racetrack. It looked like there might have been contact middle of the front straightaway with some cars as well. Again, we do stay green. Harvick boosted this lead out to about 1.2 seconds. Kyle Busch is starting to close back in now that we're about midway through this run. Down to about 1 second now. And him and Bobby Hamilton Jr. have been nose to tail for second and third place already for quite some time. Don't expect Trucker Xfinity to be in the new game. Yeah, we'll still have some fun with it. That's for sure. I definitely want to do like the season or championship mode, whatever it's going to end up being called, before the career mode. I don't want to do 2 career modes like I did this time. I think that's just a little too much. We just had, by the time we finished the first one up, it was like June, I think, or June or like late May, and we were kind of looking at September release date. Now it's October, so it's kind of a good thing I did go back to it in hindsight, because we would have had like 5 months of no NASCAR heat, which is fine, you know, considering it's not the greatest game. But at the same time, too, I know you guys wanted to see it. And, you know, I think it would have been for those first couple, like 2 to 3 months, doing a bunch of NASCAR 05 would have been all right. But I think by the time we would have gotten to like, you know, end of August where we're at right now, it would have probably became like, okay, now we can't wait for the new game, but it's like this is kind of getting old. So I guess it's kind of a good thing we had those filler seasons. But hopefully, what I do plan on doing with the next NASCAR game, not doing as many seasons, and as what I did this time, we did like an extra season or two, and no extra career mode. So that way, I'll like space it out a little bit better. So that way, we don't have as much overlap. So less double headers. You know, maybe not playing it when the game first releases. I plan on playing it every day for a couple weeks, but then probably doing NASCAR 05 like once or twice a week just to kind of space it out a little bit, so that way I'm not hopping on it. But I want to stick with that algorithm. 77 days until release. Man, that's still, yeah, that's a long time. We got over 2 months yet. That's the only bummer about it. Caution's out. Lap 29, our first caution of the day. See who it is. Oh, he got turned. The 135 car. Dwayne Borland gets turned in turns 1 and 2. I couldn't tell which fantasy driver was running behind him, but it just looked like he got cleaned out. So we're going to have our first caution of the day. Harvick is going to come to pit road, and everybody else is going to stay out. Oh boy, no adjustment changes here for Harvick. 4 fresh tires and a full tank of fuel coming, and this is going to put the 21 car back in traffic early on. And this will give Kyle Busch the lead on the restart, so he'll get 5 bonus points. The race for the championship. Yeah, I'm not too worried about Xfinity or trucks, to be honest, either. I hope there's trucks in Xfinity, but if there's not, and the gameplay is solid, that's all I care about. Rudy Tooty Booty, welcome to the stream, by the way. Bobby Carter in NASCAR 21. I hope not. I hope they have all the drivers available to get a full 40-car field. Hopefully no fantasy drivers. Green flag back in the air. Harvick nailed the restart a little too much. Had to get out of the gas to keep him running into the back of the 168. So it looks like Dwayne Borland also hit pit road. Harvick beats him out of the pits. And again, we do have one driver who blew an engine already in the race. And we've seen a lot of like smoke when we pass back through the racetrack. So gonna have to be careful for Harvick getting through traffic. He's got about 30 lap pressure tires, but there could be some stack ups. You never know. We could see another spin. Oh gosh, I was looking at the chat and just completely overdrove. Turns 1 and 2. So this is a chance for Kyle Busch to try and get away. Him and Bobby Hamilton Jr. really both look pretty fast. He might make like a one. Johnson, oh, a little contact getting into turn 1. 152 into the back of the 168 car, moves him up the track, a little bump and run, and he'll get around him, it looks like. Are we going to follow him? Harvick just really hoping everybody else in front of him can run some clean laps. We don't have any stack-ups. Harvick coming off a second-place finish in the last race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, or Lowe's Motor Speedway in this game. Matt Kenseth got the win that day. I'd imagine there's some Cup Series regulars in this race outside of Harvick, with it being at Dover as well. Yeah, I think if Jimmy does a one-off, it's going to be likely in the Cup Series. Maybe in the Xfinity Series, but I'd likely see the Cup. And it would be a couple one-off starts. It wouldn't be full-time, obviously. And by part-time, I mean, like, it's only going to be a race or two. I don't think it's going to be much more than that. Maybe a few races, but that's kind of pushing it. I'm surprised you still have NASCAR Heat 2 and Heat 3. I definitely don't. Still have Heat 4, I believe, but I haven't traded that in. The 117, what a rough day for him. He's back to 22nd now after qualifying second, but he got into the wall off turn 2 on the opening lap. Harvick's up to the top 20 already. He's moving through this field cleanly and quickly. Kyle Busch just lost the lead moments ago to Bobby Hamilton Jr., so Hamilton going to get some bonus points as well. And you wonder if Kevin Harvick can make this a two-stop race to the finish from pitting under that first caution. Caution came out at lap 29. Went green at lap 33. Three wide down the front straightaway at Dover. Bliss going to clear that generated fantasy driver just enough to make it 2x2 by the time they got into turn 1. And Harvick's now inside the top 15, clearing Jason Keller in the 22 car now. And he's right in line behind Tim Fedewa. Fedewa, Terry Cook, Matt Kenseth all in front of him. Underneath Fedewa into turn 1. Oh, he got crowded big time by not only Fedewa, but also by the 10 of Terry Cook. Harvick had to lift quite a bit to keep the car in the right direction. He was clearly underneath Fedewa. Terry Cook not as much, but they both crowded him like he wasn't even there. Man, oh man. Tim Irvin, welcome to the stream. Watching at work, man. Hey, I appreciate it, though. I appreciate it. I know it's an early day stream, but trust me, this is a doubleheader. This is not the only stream today. NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode later today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Didn't get to stream last night. Wanted to make sure I got a doubleheader in today. Took the birthday off and wasn't originally going to do that, but I think if I didn't have to work yesterday, I would have had plenty more time, but I had to work on top of everything going on when I got off work. I just didn't have enough time in the day. David Stremme almost chopped Harvick off. Kyle Busch has lost a lot of ground, more than just the lead. He must have made a pretty big error because he's now outside the top 10. Harvick has actually just passed him in turns 3 and 4, in fact, and Busch is back to 13. And Nobody is pulling away like we saw that 4-car breakaway at the very start of the race. Ashton Lewis tried to crowd Kevin Harvick. He gets into the outside wall after making contact at the right front. Basically put himself in the wall because Harvick was there. Second time Harvick's gotten pinched trying to make his way back through the field. Gets underneath his teammate Ron Hornaday quickly. Terry Cook was moving up there. Harvick finally gets around him for 7th. Casey Atwood underneath Matt Kenseth for position. Kenseth was also just outside the top 10 a little bit ago. Now he's in the 6th spot. Harvick going to get around him and clear him off turn 4 for 6th himself. Lap 50 here today at Dover. Quarter of the way home. 21 car is fast, and he's up to 3rd into turn 3. Kenny Walls, who's had a good string of races, is in 2nd place. Harvick underneath him. Remember, Harvick's got about 30 lap fresher tires, which is why he is ripping through this field right now. Bobby Hamilton Jr. with a block into turns 1 and 2. Harvick trying to get around him, but he kind of overdrives the corner, so he's not going to quite have that pressure to maybe make a pass into 3. And Harvick takes the lead into turn 1, getting around Bobby Hamilton. Kenny Wallace underneath Hamilton now for 2nd place. Hamilton shuts the door into turn 3 and holds on to that 2nd position. And Harvick's going to try to get away on these fresher tires. Again, is it a 2 pit stop race for Kevin Harvick if we did see this run green to the finish from that first and only yellow back at lap 29? He wasn't even halfway out of fuel yet at that point in the run. So that tells me he can at least probably go about 60 laps on fuel at the bare minimum, which would take him to about lap 190. But if he can run 65 laps on a full tank of fuel, which we don't know yet because we didn't get through a full fuel run, Harvick can make this race on 2 stops to the end, and that pit stop might have been the way to go. Hamilton looking to get back around him. Harvick really crowded Bobby Hamilton that time through 1 and 2. And Harvick couldn't hold the corner. He got in the wall off the exit of turn 2. Trying to keep it off of Bobby Hamilton Jr. Now he's going to try to side draft him in 3 and 4 and try to hold the outside. He couldn't do it. And he completely overdrives turns 1 and 2. So he's going to lose the lead. He's going to lose 2nd place to Kenny Wallace as well and have to drop in line now in 3rd. Yeah, Lee Diffie does a really good job with IndyCar. He did a great job when he filled in for Rick Allen there for a few races back in, I think it was 2016. I think it was 2016 when he filled in for a few races for him towards the end of the regular season. Yeah, he's a very good race commentator. Kenny Wallace got a lap lead in there, and Harvick's going to get around Wallace now back for the race lead again. Past Bobby Hamilton Jr. the lap before. Harvick had a 1 second lead before the caution, too. As much as 1.2. Oh, he's starting to battle once again. Imagine the new Atlanta turns into a super speedway. That's not going to happen, though. It's not. The track's just not big enough. I feel like it may be possible. And the only way it'd be possible, in my opinion, is if they would have kept the same width of the racetrack, because Atlanta was probably the widest 1.5 miles on the schedule. I don't think there's a 1.5 miles that's wider than current Atlanta. They would have done the repave, and the cars would have had just as much downforce with the next-gen cars as what these current cars have, and I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think the next gen cars are going to have less downforce, even on the intermediates. Even if it's not a lot less, even if it's less, just to cause them to get out of the gas a little bit more. We're already expecting those cars to have a little bit more horsepower. I've heard rumors of at least, of course, right around 650 horsepower, which is about 600 to 650, which is 50 to 100 more horsepower, which is going to play a factor as well. And then maybe having to lift a little bit more. I just don't see it happening. And Charlotte Motor Speedway isn't a terrible mile and a half, but it's not one of the better ones. And honestly, like with the configurations, it's going to honestly look almost identical to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Especially Charlotte after the repave, more so than now, because although Charlotte still has a lot of grip, it was repaved about 10 years ago. 15 years ago, man. Hard to believe it's been that long. It's got a lot of grip for having 15 years of wear on it. Glad you guys are tuning in, though, for this early afternoon race today. I was a little leery on how many people we were going to get watching. We got most of the same regulars back, so greatly appreciate it. Nashon, by the way, I didn't see your question earlier. This is not the only race doubleheader today. Going to be running the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode race later at our somewhat normally scheduled time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, Texas Motor Speedway, second race of the round of 8. So, actually already practiced and qualified for it. Just got it all ready to go, so that way I get back from the golf course and stuff, probably about 5:30. All I have to do is turn the PS4 on and be ready to go. I did see the next game is not available for the PS5, so it looks like I'm not going to be getting a PS5 anytime soon. Because I don't really have many games for the PS4 anyway, but if I'm not going to be able to play the next game on the PS5, then there's no point in me getting one right now. It's really all I'm going to be playing is NASCAR games. Yeah, Heat 5 Career Mode makes another return tonight. We're at lap 68. Again, Harvick and Dwayne Borland were the only two drivers that hit pit road during the caution back at lap 29. The only reason Borland pitted is because he was the driver who had spun out after getting turned in turns 1 and 2. Harvick pitted from the lead. He has gotten back there with the 30-lap fresher tires. And we're about a little less than 40 laps now into this green flag run. So this green flag run already longer than the original one. Last couple races, we've had about 4 or 5 cautions. 4 at Nazareth 2 races ago, 5 at Charlotte in the last race. But it did end with about a 73-lap green flag run to the finish. 1 caution early in this race. Pretty calm for right now. It was a lot calmer even after the restart compared to the initial start when they were 2x2. Because, again, you were seeing smoke every probably 5 to 8 laps. Like there might have been contact and somebody might have brushed the wall off the exit of the corner and stacked some cars up, but they stayed green for the most part until that eventual caution at lap 29. Surprised Kenny Wallace all of a sudden is starting to turn into a driver who can contend for a win. He's been close. He has won 1 race this year in the season opener at Daytona, but hasn't won since. He's definitely competed over the last few races. This might be his best opportunity in that handful of races. Led 2 laps already in this one. He's in second place right now on older tires. Not putting a whole lot of pressure on Harvick, but on equal fresh tires, he might have the car to beat. You never know. He was one of the drivers that got stacked up on lap 1 when the 117 ended up getting into the outside wall, allowing for only a 4-car breakaway, which was Kevin Harvick, the 109 car of Lance Brantley, Bobby Hamilton Jr., and Kyle Busch at the time. And Busch, who led on the restart, lost the lead, fell outside the top 10 after making a mistake on his own. Not even sure where he's at in the running order. Bobby Hamilton's still there in 3rd. We got a little bit before lap traffic yet as well, so a lot of clean air for Kevin Harvick. This is definitely looking like it could be a two-stop race for him. But at the same time, the longer this runs green, you're almost wondering if it was going to be a two pit stop race for everybody else anyway. We're at lap 75, and most of the field has not pitted yet, which would easily make it a two-stop race. And again, we had 4 caution laps in there, but even excluding that, I just don't... I don't see this being more than 2 pit stops. Now, Harvick obviously has pitted once, so now the question is, can it be a 1 pit stop race to the finish for Kevin Harvick? Is that possible? I mean, it would be 2 pit stops total with him taking fuel and tires back at lap 29. Went green at lap 33, so we're probably looking for 33 to the end of the run of how many laps he can go on fuel. So if this does actually play green all the way through green flag pit stops, not only for the rest of the AI, but for Harvick, well after that run, that's going to give him a good gauge of whether or not he would have to pit once or twice. Realistically, if the pit stops open for everybody else, before lap 100, which you would have to imagine they would. It's lap 80 now. I don't know. Is there a glitch with NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 in the Busch Series that for some reason there's no pit stops that I don't know about? Because obviously you can't change the settings once you start a season on NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005, so obviously the pit stops are on because we've had pit stops all season. Yeah, I mean the banking has changed. That was something else I was going to add with that. Obviously the banking that we're going to see now as well, but I just don't think the track's wide enough. It's the width of Charlotte. Charlotte's the most narrow mile and a half on the schedule. I just don't see it. Especially if the next car is having less downforce and a tad bit more horsepower than the intermediate package that we're seeing now. I just don't see it. It's going to race like a mile and a half still. On paper, I'm not a big fan of it, but obviously we don't have any cars on the racetrack. I'm willing to obviously give it a try. I'd plan on going to that race next year just to see it in person. I was at Atlanta in 2019, so I get to see old Atlanta and new Atlanta. You want Quinn out. One of few. You're one of few. Okay, so there is going to be pit stops. Harvick just hit halfway on fuel at lap 85. This could turn into a fuel mileage race here today, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of a 2-car breakaway. Oh, somebody got the wall off of turn 2. Not sure who. Over that, not the first lap car in front of us, but the second one. The driver who got into the wall, he was trying to get back up to speed. in turns 3 and 4. And again, we do stay green. Just a minor mistake. Oh, somebody else got the wall up turn 2 again. Well, actually, it might be the same smoke from the lap before. Get towards the end of the tire stint. Harvick starting to pull away from Kenny Wallace, just over a half a second lead now, lap 88. I can't imagine the rest of the field is too far away from pit stops. Yeah, we'll see. That's true, Tyler. We'll see about that. I don't believe it until I see it. Rick Ware Racing being more competitive. I mean, the fact he's got 4 cars every week, like, you would think if they had like a 1 or a 2 car team, they would be more competitive because he wouldn't be spending as much money. And he obviously has the money to fully fund and field 4 cars. So, like, I just don't understand if he was in it to be competitive, why would you start with like a 3 or 4 car team? Like, that just financially doesn't make any sense if you're in it for the long haul and you're in it to be competitive in the long haul. The 152 is the car that got in the wall, by the way. Slight mistake. Harvick has lapped 2 cars during this green flag run. Pulling out to about 3/4 of a second lead over Kenny Wallace. Yeah, definitely going to stretch this fuel run out as far as we can. Dover is one of the toughest pit roads to try and get onto as well. I practiced it twice. Once in first practice session and once in the happy hour session. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I really got to talk to you guys about the IndyCar race at Nashville last week. I actually watched it. I didn't think I was going to be home to watch it, but I watched all but like the first 3 laps of the race. In fact, right when I turned it on, oh man, this is going to be a very interesting race, ladies and gentlemen. Most of the field is on their way to pit road for green flag pit stops at lap 95, which is just shy of the halfway mark. I did not think guys were going to be able to go that far on fuel. We definitely know Harvick can make it a 1 stop if he can go as far as the AI went. Now, granted, again, we had about 4 caution laps in there, so really it's about 91 laps or so on fuel. I don't see these guys being able to make it to the end without another caution. Lap car, the 117 underneath Harvick, getting up to speed in turns 3 and 4. Leaving Harvick on the outside. Now the 117 kind of got a little tight. Maybe it was a block. That could have been as well. He was still getting up to speed, so Harvick will cross it back over. Clear him into turns 1 and 2. Harvick's going to have about 55 lap older tires than everybody else. Definitely going to allow these guys to close back in before Harvick ends up hitting pit road. Giving himself back to about 35 or so lap pressure tires when he does pit. Remember, Dwayne Borland has already pit once as well, so he's likely still going to be on the lead lap. So if Harvick pits, he will lose the lap to Borland. So he's willing to just take this fuel run out as far as he possibly can. Almost halfway done already with just the 1 caution. Pretty quick race pace. Ooh, Ashton Lewis crowds Kevin Harvick. Probably didn't realize he was there with Harvick making the late dive into turn 2. But Harvick will clear Lewis off the exit of turn 2 now. Ooh, jeez. Ashton Lewis was in the top 10 as well earlier, so considering that, the fresher tires for Lewis, I have to imagine it's going to be tough for Kevin Harvick to legitimately pull away. Jason Keller going to come to pit road. Just past halfway. But anyway, I was about to get into talking about the Nashville IndyCar race. I was able to watch it. I watched right on the restart on lap 4. So as soon as I turned it on, I was like, well, if I'm going to be able to watch the IndyCar race, I guess I'll watch the IndyCar race. And right when I flipped it on, I kid you not, like the first second I flipped it on was when Ericsson went airborne. I was like, he was like already mid-air. I think I like literally just saw the contact as soon as I turned it on, and like he was mid-air. I was like, whoa, what just happened? Like my mom was in the living room too. She's like, Jesus, like it was just like as soon as he turned it on, I was like, oh no. It came back down to all 4. I didn't know they were on a restart. I didn't know they were on a restart until they showed the replay. For all I knew, it was still green flag and they were full speed over 100 miles an hour when that happened. It like scared me there for a second, especially like mid-air. Like when they kept showing the replay throughout the course of the day, the way his car turned in mid-air made it look like he was going into the fence. He was very lucky to not only come back down to all 4, but to not end up in the fence because it looked like it was starting to turn that way when the air got underneath it. But I think going slower speeds with basically just getting into the restart after the cautions what saved him. It looked identical to what happened at Iowa last year with Hinchcliffe, I believe. Well, I don't think it was Hinchcliffe that went airborne. I think Hinchcliffe was the one that got ran into, but there was a similar crash on restart at Iowa last season. Yeah, that's just crazy how he didn't have more than just when his crew chief was like, it's okay, it's not a lot of damage or whatever. We'll come in, we'll fix it, you'll be all right. And the commentators are even, kind of joking around about it. And I was too. I was like, there's no way. I mean, he was just airborne. And sure enough, not only he gets back into it, he goes on to win the race. How was that car not more damaged? Like, that car should. I know it was just a restart and they weren't going that fast, but just the fact that he was off the ground like that, that's just. I mean, that's as close to a flip and a win as you're ever going to see. That's just insane. It almost didn't even feel real just because of how it turned out. And Herta by far had the faster car, but the track position worked out for Ericsson. Herta was just pushing maybe a little. Oh, he did push too hard when he got into the wall. Hopefully he's all right, by the way, too. It seemed like he was kind of like, grasping his thumb or thumbs, or his hands, or wrist, or something. And I haven't heard anything about it because I haven't really looked. I kind of forgot about looking back into it. But is there an injury for Colton Herta I don't know about? Hopefully he was all right. He was definitely upset when it first happened, which how could he not be in his situation? He had the race won. He just couldn't get back around Ericsson. And he had laps to do it. I think that caution happened with 6 to go, so they had time. Yeah, I was talking about the IndyCar race. I haven't talked about it yet, and it's already been like 4 days since the race. Kind of forgot to tell you guys I did watch it after the Cup race that day. Well, Jimmy's staying in IndyCar next year. He signed a 2-year deal with Ganassi when he did run part-time Indy. And there might be an option for him to run full-time. I don't really know, but or to run ovals, but we definitely know he's running the street courses, road courses next year. I mean, he was already contractually obligated to run with him already signing the contract, so he is running IndyCar next year, part time at least, just like he is this year. Yeah, they had a good crowd. The TV ratings came back awesome. And more people viewed the IndyCar street course race than what they did the Nashville NASCAR race, which is kind of surprising. Both were on NBC Sports, right? I know the Nashville race is on NBC Sports. It wasn't on NBC this year. But I don't think the IndyCar race was on NBC. I have Hulu, so like you don't actually pick the channels. You basically just kind of scroll if you pick like live or live sports, and you see what's on. So like I don't know if it was actually on NBC Sports or if it was on main NBC, but either way, good for IndyCar. I wish millions of people tuned into all motorsports every week. Millions of Americans, I should say. Got 10 people watching right now. Again, thanks for everybody tuning in. Like, share, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Kevin Harvick dominating this current portion of the race, but he still has to hit pit road. And as far as everybody else, it is going to be very close on fuel for them on if they can make it on one more pit stop. We definitely know Harvick can make it on just one more stop. He and Dwayne Borland were the only two drivers that pitted during the first caution back at lap 29. And they should be good on fuel to the finish. Harvick's going to take this run out as far as he can just to make sure. But with doing that, as long as we stay green, it should work out in their favor. Then we're basically just waiting on, is everybody else going to be all right on fuel? Now, Harvick might lose the lead after cycling off the pits and have to race back to the front, knowing he's going to have about 55 lap older tires for a good 30 to 35 laps from the time they pitted to the time the rest of the field will pit. Most of the field, well, at least the field started coming onto pit road at lap 95. We had 4 caution laps earlier, 3 to 4 caution laps earlier in the race. So as far as green flag laps go, it was about 90 to 93 laps really during the green flag pit stops. So it will be a longer run to the finish for those drivers if they can make it. And I don't see them going over 100 laps at Dover on fuel. I just do not see it. So if it stays green to the end, it might be Kevin Harvick and Dwayne Borland finishing 1-2, which is awesome for Borland considering he got turned early in the race at lap 29, which brought out the first yellow by another fantasy driver, middle of the pack. I don't think Borland was going to really contend for anything, but it's going to fall right into his hands. Ooh, Hermie Sadler got the wall off the exit of turn 2. He's going to lose a position, and he falls another lap down to Harvick. Dwayne Borland coming into the pits as we speak, so he'll go a lap down for now. Lap 122, which would leave at the line now about 78 laps to go when Dwayne Borland comes out of the pits for him to go on fuel to the end, which he should make it. So I think he was just short pinning to try and maybe cut into that deficit on Harvick. That'll give Harvick a 1-lap lead. He's definitely not going to cut 21 seconds into that deficit, so Harvick will just stay out. Heck, maybe Borland goes a couple laps down and then the caution comes out. So much for Borland finishing second if that happens. Well, see, the thing is, I don't think it's so much the new IndyCar fans which helped the viewership. I think it was a lot of NASCAR fans tuned into IndyCar, which they usually wouldn't. But because of how much ad running they were doing during the NASCAR race and leading up to the NASCAR race, not only about the Indy Street Course race, but I mean, during the Watkins Glen race for NASCAR, there were so many ads throughout the race, and even the broadcasters for NASCAR were bringing up, hey, the IndyCar Street Course race coming up, can't wait for it. So I think that was hyping up a lot of NASCAR fans to tune in. So you had not only the same IndyCar fans that would watch every IndyCar race, but you would also have the NASCAR fans that were tuning in. And NASCAR in general gets more fans to tune into their races on TV versus IndyCar. So when you have the combination of both of them watching, that's why the second race of the doubleheader, I think, ran better. It would have been the same thing if the Nashville IndyCar Street Course race would have been first, and then the Watkins Glen Cup race would have been second, and they were airing just as much, ad space, and the commentators for the IndyCar race were talking about the NASCAR race just as much. I think it would have been the same way going the other way around, where the Watkins Glen race would have probably seen like over 3 million people watching it because of, the IndyCar fans and the NASCAR fans would have been watching it. So I think it was just being the second race of the doubleheader. I think you're going to see that with the ratings probably this coming weekend, where the Xfinity race is probably going to have just as many fans watching on TV as the IndyCar race, with the IndyCar race being first on Saturday and the Xfinity race being second, and they're at the same racetrack. I think that had a lot to do with it, which, again, makes it successful. I mean, this is where we can see motorsports working together in the future to getting, fans that would only watch one or the other to watch both. I mean, I watched both. I hadn't seen my first IndyCar race this weekend. I wanted to actually see an actual road course race for IndyCar. I only watched one other race this year, and that was the Indy 500, which I typically watch the Indy 500 any year anyway, but I want to make sure I was going to catch another one. Get more familiar with the names. I do know most of the names, but some of those guys at the back, I have no clue who Harvey is. Jack Harvey. I had no clue who he was. "70 laps to go here today at Dover. Race 1 of the doubleheader. NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode coming up later this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll look up the track a little bit. He's on old tires. He can only go a few more laps on fuel, it looks like. He'll stretch it out as long as he can, though. He's leaving a lot of laps with this strategy. We'll see if he'll cycle back to the race lead. And then the hands is in really the rest of the race of everybody else. Will we stay green to the finish? And if we do, will everybody else be able to make it on fuel? Kind of figured it was going to be a 2 to 3 stop race today. I doubt it was going to be one, but we'll see if everybody can make it on one. Harvick's going to pit at lap 135. So that'll be with 66 laps to go. Harvick will hit pit road. He'll stay out this time by. He'll have to make sure he keeps the car under control and he doesn't speed. He's got a big lead for now, and I think with the strategy, he could probably ease the car coming into the pits and be a little bit more cautious than if he was actually battling hard for position. So you do not want a speeding penalty here. Cost you any sort of time. So here it is. Harvick backing out. We'll have 65 laps to go when he comes off of pit road, so a lot less of a green flag run to the end compared to what that current run was. Probably could have forced the issue a little bit harder coming to pit road, and that's going to cost him some time, but with the strategy right now, if it goes green to the end, he's going to be perfectly fine anyway. No adjustments, 4 fresh tires and a full tank of fuel. First green flag stop of the day for Harvick's second pit stop total. Him and Dwayne Borland, the only 2 cars who will make their second stop and be good on fuel to the very end. There's those worn out tires going over the wall. Cody Ware is better than Jimmy in IndyCar. I would say no. I would say it's not. It was on NBCSN, okay. Kenny Wallace is going to cycle as the race leader here. A lot of clean traffic, though, for Kevin Harvick to merge back up onto the racetrack down the back straightaway, so that's good. A little over 4 seconds off the lead. That's because Kenny Wallace pitted about 35 laps before Harvick. So Harvick had about 0.8 of a second over Wallace when the pit stop started. Surprised he only lost about 4 seconds, really. And he took his time coming to pit road, too. And now Harvick's got 35 lap fresher tires, which just goes to a testament of how strong Harvick's car is today. And he does cycle out in third as well, so position-wise, he's only got past 2 cars to get to the lead, but a lot of lap cars still in between them as well. Harvick needs this to stay green to the end. So does Dwayne Borland. They'll have an easy 1-2 finish. Earl Arnold Jr., welcome to the stream. Doing this early because we're running a doubleheader today. I don't work Thursdays, so that's why I was able to do it. And we did not stream last night, so this is the race that would have been last night. Took the birthday off. Wasn't going to, but I got home a little later with work and then going out with the family afterwards. If I didn't work yesterday, I would have had plenty of time to do it, but I didn't take the day off. Michael Turner, welcome as well. Definitely some hype for the next NASCAR game. I appreciate you guys in the chat, and even if you're not in the chat, people watching this race right now. We have 11 people watching, which might not seem like a lot, but considering it is an early, middle of the week afternoon race, I will take that any day. So thanks for all you taking time out of your day. I know Tim was at work. I don't know how many of you guys are at work right now. I know it's summer too, and a lot of you guys probably aren't in school, but if you're younger, but I greatly appreciate this. That's awesome. About 59 laps to go this time by for Kenny Wallace. Harvick is cutting into that lead on these fresher tires quite a bit right now. There's Dwayne Borland in front. Borland's actually a lap down. I think Casey Atwood's in second place. He's having a good run. Not as consistent lately as Kenny Wallace, but he's challenging Wallace for the lead. Hasn't been able to get around him, and Harvick is closing fast. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time today. Too lazy to catch. NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode will be later tonight at Texas. It'll be the second race of the round of 8. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hit that bell notification so you guys don't miss the upload. After you, of course, subscribe and like this stream that is currently going on right now if you are watching. We got 11 people watching. We only got 6 likes, so hit that like button. Helps me out a ton. Oh, Atwood looking to make a pass on Wallace. Harvick underneath Casey. Into turn 1. Kevin Harvick going to not only get around Casey Atwood on the fresher tires, but he gets underneath Kenny Wallace. He can't quite clear him. Now he does. He actually did clear him off turn 2. Got a little loose in the center of the corner, but now Wallace going to cross him back over in turns 3 and 4. Harvick trying to get a run off the high side. Now he makes a little mistake into 1. Wallace trying to pinch him and side draft him. Kenny Wallace back to the lead. Harvick with the crossover now down the back straightaway into turn 3. Back again underneath Wallace. Wallace just trying to survive right now on those older tires. And we don't even know if those guys can make it on fuel to the end. We know Harvick can. He's in a very good spot because not only he's got the strategy, but he's also got the lead on top of it. Just have to stay caution-free the rest of the race. Easier said than done. It's really out of Harvick's control. Well, we don't. We know Heat 4 is better than Heat 5. That we definitely know. As far as Heat 4 being better than the new NASCAR game, we don't know until the next NASCAR game comes out. We're just not going to know. Or at least see the gameplay. We haven't even seen gameplay yet. Until we have that, we just don't know. Well, Tyler, you know I'll be getting the game new I'll be streaming it. We'll be doing the realistic commentary as always. So you'll get to see firsthand on the channel my raw take on it and get to see a full race worth of gameplay. Multiple full races until you decide whether or not you want to buy the game. So there's no need for you to take that risk immediately. Austin Dillon, 4-time Cup champion. There you go. Tying Jeff Gordon. And Harvick's definitely pulling away in the lap traffic in the fresher tires from Kenny Wallace and Casey Atwood. Atwood still has not gotten around Wallace for position. Maybe he could be a little bit faster than Kenny. He had a lot of pressure on him. Harvick underneath Cody Holt for position. And less than 50 laps to go for Happy Harvick. Looking for 3 straight top 2 finishes. Looking to go back to victory lane for the first time since Nazareth. Which hasn't been long. It's only 2 races ago he won, but missed out. Got passed on the last lap at Lowe's Motor Speedway by Matt Kenseth earlier in the week. Back on Sunday. Oh boy, Harvick up the track, almost got into Mike Bliss in the 20. Again, even if they can make it on field to the end, unless Harvick gets held up big time by the lap traffic, there's just no way he is going to lose this lead. We know he's good on fuel to the end. He can push. He's got fresher tires. The only thing that works against him, we get a caution, because then everybody can pit. Harvick will likely have to pit as well just to stay on the same strategy as those guys. Because otherwise he's going to have older tires and he's going to be a sitting duck. Fairly clean race for the 21 as well. With this being a tricky racetrack, he made it to pit road cleanly and easily as well for a green flag stop. Just been a near perfect race for Harvick's strategy and on the racetrack as well. On and off the racetrack has been pretty good for the 21 team. Don't know if exactly he had the faster car before the start, or at the start of the race before that first caution. Yes, he got out to a 1.2 second lead. But we didn't see, Casey Atwood or Kenny Wallace really contend until the off strategy game started to come into play. And every time they've been around the 21 of Harvick, Harvick's had fresher tires. So they just can't prevail. .40 laps to go. The 7 car going to give Harvick quite a bit of room. Harvick gets under him off turn 2. Harvick's been just getting through the lap traffic pretty well up to this point. As a whole, 1.3 second lead now. And again, Dwayne Borland is a lap down, who is the only other car in the same strategy as Kevin Harvick. So even if everybody had to pit, and then we got a caution say Borland would have a chance. He would get the free pass, but he'd have to obviously restart at the tail end of the longest line. Therefore, Kevin Harvick would, at that point, need 2 cautions to come out for anybody to have a shot to get him by the end of this race. That caution would have to come out before everybody else pits. If they pit. Again, they could make it. It'd be a longer run to the finish, though, for them than what that first run was by about 5 to 10 laps. But we'll see. They're definitely going to take it as long as they possibly can. That's for sure. A little contact with Ray Westbury getting into turn 1. Last thing Harvick wants is a caution. So he definitely doesn't want to cause one. That would just add to the heartbreak. Knowing that it could have definitely been avoided. We stay green, though. 35 to go. Alternate through the different camera angles for the next 4 laps. It'll be the final time we'll do that here this afternoon. Still a little bit off in the distance, but it doesn't look like there's a big group of lap traffic that Harvick's going to catch here pretty soon, probably within about 5 to 10 laps yet. Loose off turn 4 that time for Harvick. Jared Holmes, 108 car. Next car to go a lap down. Another lap down, I should say. Well, actually, no, he might be on the lead lap. Forgot those guys haven't pitted yet. Harvick clear off turn 4. Nice, easy pass. 29 laps to go. Yeah, here comes a heavy lap traffic within another lap or two. Harvick's going to get there. Out to a 1.7 second lead over Kenny Wallace and Casey Atwood. With the 21 of Harvick, a lot of the Cup Series regulars haven't really contended in this one here today versus a lot of the Busch Series regulars, excluding Kevin Harvick in the 21, who is currently in the race lead. Ollie Renshaw lap down. Harvick almost turned himself off Renshaw's front bumper. That was close. Still wants to get around these guys quick. He needs to get around a lot cleaner than what he's doing right now. He doesn't want to risk a caution coming out. Now there's a little contact off turn 2 in front of Harvick. Between a couple of those generated fantasy drivers that are about to go a lap down. Looked like the 128 almost turned the 168 off turn 2. That'd be the worst spot. Not only if we saw a caution late in this race, but if Harvick, the race leader, would be involved in it too. Inside Your Anus, welcome to the stream. Back from vacation. How's life? Pretty good. Hopefully you enjoyed your vacation. Harvick really overdrove turns 1 and 2. He had the room to make the pass. He just overdrove the corner on his own. Tried to set up Donnie Hart to get under him off turn 4. He'll try it again in 1 and 2. This time he'll clear him with ease. At as much of a 1.9 second lead, it's back to about 1.8. He lost a tenth of a second that last lap because of that minor mishap. Just enough getting out of the gas, letting Hart go, and get back around to the next lap. He had time to kill, so wasn't bad. 20 laps to go for Kevin Harvick to get the win here today at Dover. Avenging losing the race on Sunday afternoon at Charlotte. He passed on the last lap by Matt Kenseth. Again, we've had one caution a day. It was back at lap 29. Dwayne Borland going around for a spin. Somebody else just blew an engine moments ago as well. Did make it to pit road. And again, we don't know if the rest of the field can make it to the end on fuel. So we might be seeing some green flag pit stops at the end of this race as well. We only have 17 laps to go at the line. Around a 1 mile racetrack, so these laps are going to click by pretty quickly. Harvick's fastest lap of the race is a 22.844. Been tough to get back into the 22-second barrier since we're a little bit further into this green flag run. A little over 50 laps have been ran by Harvick so far during this run. Bobby Hamilton Jr., Ashton Lewis, next couple lap cars ahead of Harvick. It's a battle for position. Probably not going to be easy for Harvick to lap him. A little over a 2-second lead now over Kenny Wallace and Casey Atwood. So we got Harvick's pulling away, 15 laps to go. Hamilton is underneath Ashton Lewis. They're side by side. Turns 1 and 2. Harvick tried to file in line behind Ashton Lewis, and he kind of got into him. Lewis trying to cross over Hamilton. Didn't have the momentum to get back underneath him, it looked like. And we have some drivers hitting pit road as we speak right now. Oh boy, 3 wide at Dover. That got tight into turn 3. They made it, though. And Harvick clears both Ashton Lewis and Bobby Hamilton Jr. 13 laps to go to put them both a lap down. So they're battling now for the free pass position if we see a caution. As long as they can make it. We're in the middle of green flag stops. Well, it looked like there might have been a near accident down the front straightaway at last lap. And a lot of these guys on older tires. Hamilton stayed out of the pits that last lap, but Ashton Lewis actually did come in. Hamilton stays out again. And I believe Casey Atwood and Kenny Wallace have hit pit road already as well. That's why Harvick's got an 11.5-second lead. Make that 12 seconds. Harvick, a little mistake getting into turn 3. Hamilton all over the back bumper of Harvick. 10 laps to go. So now if we get a caution, no lap cars will be inside of the lead lap cars. Kyle Busch, David Stremme, Mike Bliss all coming out of the pits. It's going to be narrow. Good thing Mike Bliss wasn't up to speed yet. Oh, man, Harvick didn't know Bliss was still down there. He almost crowded him. Bliss clears him off turn 4. 8 laps to go. Harvick just about turned himself off the 20's front bumper. He didn't realize he was getting up to speed. And now Ashton Lewis is blowing an engine. There was somebody trying to come off the pit lane. And that's very strange because Ashton Lewis made his green flag pit stop. Maybe he missed a gear or something trying to get back up to speed. A lot of miniature chaos, I guess you would say, late in this race. Harvick is like, okay, let's just be clean for a few more laps and get to the end, not risk having another restart. Getting closer to the white flag, just 6 laps to go this time by. Still just over a 12-second lead, so not all those cars have pitted. Some of them are trying to save fuel and make it to get the best position at the finish they possibly can, even if they're not going to contend for the win with Harvick if it stays green. We're going to get around the 117. We almost got the wall off turn 4 right in front of Bobby Hamilton Jr. And Hamilton's trying to make it on field to the end as well. Remember, he has not pitted. It's the first car lap down. 4 to go for Harvick this time by. Maybe he didn't have the dominant car. We really don't know. But this pit strategy, outside of Dwayne Borland, nobody else tried it. And both those two are going to at least get top 10s for Borland's sake. Likely a second place finish for Dwayne if the rest of the lead lap cars pit. Another car on pit road right as we speak. 3 laps to go. And we have more leaders coming in, so they're definitely running it pretty close. We'll see if Bobby Hamilton Jr. is going to come in any one of these final couple laps. He's not making the move like he's going to this time. With older tires, he's not going to be able to get back around Harvick, though. 2 more laps. Yeah, I have no clue who's even in second place at this point. It's definitely not Borland, and we know Casey Atwood and Kenny Wallace have already pitted, so this running order is really going to be jumbled up here at the end of the race. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go at Dover. No cautions come out on the final lap on any of these NASCAR EA Sports video games, so it is all she wrote here, and Kevin Harvick is going to get a dominating win with this strategy as far as laps led go, and no pressure as we stayed green for the final 167 laps. Checkered flag in the air. Kevin Harvick is going to win at Dover for the MBNA America 200. Harvick with a little drag style burnout. Smoke's dissipating. There we go. Yeah, that smoke dissipated a lot quicker than what I thought it would. We actually made it all the way down the front straightaway, though. I'll take that. Wasn't the best burnout, but it wasn't terrible. And Kevin Harvick going to get the win here at Dover. Another win this season for the NASCAR Busch Series. Jeff Burton was the only driver to make this race on one pit stop. And with that, it gives him a second place finish. 12.6 seconds off the lead, leaving just 2 cars on the lead lap at the end of this 200 lap event. Kevin Harvick led 165 of the 200 laps today with this strategy. Again, Jeff Burton second. Dwayne Borland ends up third. He was on Harvick's strategy. It helped him get a third place finish, finishing first car lap down. Kenny Wallace led 10 laps today. He finishes fourth. Casey Atwood rounds out the top 5. Bobby Hamilton Jr. led 19 laps, finishing 6th. Ron Hornaday 7th. 8th was Kyle Busch, who led 4 laps. David Stremme 9th, and Hermie Sadler will round out the top 10. As far as drivers who failed to finish this race and had DNF'd, we had Brown, Matt Kenseth had blown an engine, Craig Miller blew an engine. We saw Ashton Lewis blow an engine with 10 laps to go. Those were the 4 drivers that DNF'd. 1 caution for 3 caution laps, 10 lead changes total. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Thanks for everybody tuning in here early this afternoon. Another race coming up for a doubleheader later on this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Texas 500 at the Texas Motor Speedway for the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. We'll see what will happen in that second race of the round of 8. Again, thanks for your appreciation and support as always, especially at this early afternoon, middle of the week race. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hit that bell notification button so that way you guys don't miss the upload of not only tonight's stream, but any other future streams after subscribing. And I will see you guys later today on NASCAR Heat 5. Thanks, everybody, and I'll catch you a little bit later.